Hey, y'all. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to check in briefly after the failed Anchorage summit that really was quite an embarrassment, I think, for the Trump administration, and check in briefly. Obviously, we've got the Ukrainian and European delegation in D.C. today, and more to come on that. But I thought it was really interesting that Trump has continued to emphasize this sort of take that the war wouldn't have happened had he been president. And we noted, I think, a lot of us in watching the so-called press conference after the summit in Anchorage that Putin, using a little bit of his KGB tradecraft, emphasized the same thing. Right? He's obviously playing off of Trump's desire to be strong and Trump's emphasis that I would have been too strong for this to happen in the past. I think Putin is saying it in a slightly different way. And I actually tend to agree with Putin and Trump on this exact point, which is a little bit surprising, right? Given how critical I've been of Trump's pretty shambolic diplomatic policy, having one of his golf buddies kind of schlep all over the world to make to put out PR findings that they've had some huge agreement when that doesn't really exist on the ground. But you may be surprised to hear that I actually agree with this take, and the reason that I do is quite simple. I don't think the conflict in Ukraine would have happened the same way had Trump been president. At that time when the full scale invasion took place, and the reason I don't think that it would have happened the same way is obviously Trump's weakness on Ukraine and weakness in standing up to Russia. You'll remember that during this time frame. I mean, all the way back into 2014, really when the war started in the early 2010s with the invasion of Crimea, Putin's administration has emphasized the people's republics of Luhansk and Donetsk. They've emphasized that Crimea is obviously Russian. They've pushed for Viktor Medvedchuk and other Russian sympathizers to be in charge of Ukraine, and their denazification policy, eliminating kind of any Ukrainian resistance, goes back all the way to that time. So the reason I agree with Trump and Putin on this point really is just that I think Trump would never have supported the Ukrainian resistance in the way that Biden and other folks have, and I do agree the war wouldn't have happened the same way because Russia would have been able to enact these changes and this undermining of Ukrainian democracy much more easily had a weak U.S. president, at least in terms of Ukraine, been in power, such as Donald Trump. So again, it's really interesting to watch how Putin has played Trump on this. They're kind of saying the same thing, but they're saying it in different ways. Trump thinks it's a compliment, right? He thinks that this wouldn't have happened on my watch because I'm so strong. Putin is agreeing, and he's kind of egging him on this point, but it's it's exactly the opposite take, right? It's this wouldn't have happened because we would have been able to get our way without quite as much violence because you would have given up more easily. So curious for your thoughts down below, and we'll see what happens later today.